It's a bleak afternoon in the 1830s in Broad Street, Worcester, England. Two respectable chemists, John Lee and William Perrins, are standing over a barrel. They're normally in the business of selling cures, cosmetics, and health tonics, but they know that Victorian Britain is obsessed with exotic sauces to mask the taste of national delicacies like boiled mutton. So John and William decide to invent a new one. They toss in a chaotic blend of ingredients: mashed anchovies, sour tamarind, molasses, and raw vinegar. They're aiming to make a fashionable new table sauce and, ideally, some money. But their brew is a nauseating catastrophe. The stench has them retching. It smells like a fish died in a vinegar factory.
Ugh.
Tasting the foul sludge is out of the question. Gagging, they seal the wooden barrel. They drag it down into the darkest corner of their cellar and abandon it to the damp and the dust. For over a year, the oozing barrel sits there untouched. Even the rats give it a wide berth. In the pitch black, the reeking potion is undergoing a curious transformation. Salt and acid are slowly dismantling the rotting fish. Without realizing it, the two pharmacists have sparked an unholy process of controlled decomposition. The result? Worcestershire Sauce and the foundation of a global business. So, what exactly happens when you abandon fish in a basement for a year and a half? The answer involves a great deal of luck and a spectacular lie. 18 months later, John and William are having a clear-out. The pharmacy needs room for more jars of medicinal leeches and mercury pills. They stumble across the forgotten wooden barrel, and curiosity gets the better of them. A sensible person would have called the fire brigade or a priest. But some people have an irresistible urge to poke stuff they really shouldn't. One of the pharmacists dips a finger into the ominous ooze, and in an act of reckless disregard for his self-preservation, sticks it straight into his mouth. He anticipates the taste of a wet badger, or at least what he imagines a wet badger might taste like. Instead, his taste buds erupt into spontaneous celebration. The putrid fish water has magically transformed. It's liquid umami. They've accidentally created a culinary triumph. But it dawns on them that they have something of a marketing hurdle. The slogan, "Cheer up your dish with our rotten fish," is, they feel, unlikely to fly. So they dream up a great big whopper of a lie. They invent Lord Sands. It's the tale of a nobleman returning from Bengal. They claim he handed them a highly classified exotic recipe. Why admit to accidental decomposition when you can sell a posh colonial fantasy? By 1840, they've taken out adverts in the Manchester Guardian. They proudly boast of this nobleman's recipe in national print. The Victorians are suckers for a fake lord's approval, and they swallow the fiction hook, line, and sinker. Historians now agree Lord Sands was never the governor of Bengal. The origin story is a naughty but brilliant act of commercial fraud. Lord Sands was a phantom, and John and William hadn't actually done any cooking. So who or what was the true author of this magical liquid? In the terrifying gloom of that cellar, John and William hadn't cooked a sauce. They'd inadvertently sparked a violent microscopic demolition derby. The secret isn't magic. It's salt, acid, and a frankly unreasonable amount of waiting. The raw malt vinegar makes the liquid intensely sour, and the massive amounts of salt violently suck the moisture out of anything that enters. They created a brew so intensely hostile that the kind of everyday germs that cause food poisoning simply shrivel up and die. But it's an absolute paradise for a weirdly resilient type of bacteria. These microscopic oddballs actually thrive in the salty, deadly sludge. They pump out chemical sledgehammers that ruthlessly dismantle the dead fish. They literally break the solid meat down into the building blocks of flavor. Specifically, they create glutamates, the exact chemicals behind that deep, meaty taste we now call umami. But it's not just the anchovies enduring this grim 18-month ordeal. Whole garlic cloves are submerged in vinegar for 18 months. Red onions sit pickling for nearly 10 months until their physical structure completely collapses into mush. The anchovies are crushed under solid salt for 2 whole years before they even meet the other ingredients. The whole assembly is a masterpiece of managed decay. But when everyone else wants a piece of the puddle, how, pray, does one establish one's copyright over rotting seafood? The sauce became an overnight sensation. Naturally, the free market responded by trying to steal it. Counterfeiters popped up across the British Empire like uninvited relatives at a will reading. John and William fought back by slapping the hallmarks of authenticity on their product. By 1845, they'd wrapped the bottle tops in metallic capsules and plastered their signatures across the paper labels, making the bottle look like a stock certificate, all to prove that their rotting fish was the official rotting fish. The battle for the brown puddle eventually hit the highest courts, culminating in the 1879 US federal case Lee et al. Versus Deakin. The courts looked back to a crucial 1876 English decision that a geographical location couldn't be monopolized as a trademark. The name Worcestershire was deemed generic. Although Lee and Perrins lost the case, their product retained its status as the original and gold standard. In fact, the dark liquid was about to break out of the kitchen entirely and invade our literature, our cocktails, and our morning after rituals. Consider P.G. Woodhouse's legendary butler, Jeeves. When his employer, Bertie Wooster, wakes up with a thumping hangover, Jeeves mixes up a hangover cure driven by Worcestershire sauce. Nothing soothes a pounding headache quite like liquefied anchovy. The International Bartenders Association's official Bloody Mary recipe demands exactly 2 dashes of the dark liquid. The concentrated glutamates punch through the tomato acid. Indeed, the sauce's passport is heavily stamped. In Japan, they thickened it and called it bulldog sauce. It's now the foundational topping for tonkatsu. In Mexico, they splash salsa inglesa into micheladas. But the undisputed champions of the sauce live elsewhere. A 1996 Wall Street Journal report revealed a statistical anomaly. The average Salvadoran consumes roughly 2.5 ounces of Worcestershire sauce every year. Are they bathing in it? It's utterly baffling. But while the Salvadorans are drinking it by the gallon, there's one group of people who really shouldn't be touching it at all. The sauce harbors a treacherous secret. It's a stealth attack on the unsuspecting vegetarian. Countless plant-based diners happily splash it onto melted cheese, oblivious to the covert anchovy ambush. This is why Henderson's relish thrives in Sheffield. It's the explicitly fish-free Northern English alternative, a safe haven for people who draw the culinary line at decomposed sea life. But back in Worcester, the original fishy concoction was generating ridiculous amounts of money, which meant the recipe had to be defended at all costs. Or so you'd think. Corporations often guard their assets in underground vaults. Lee and Perrins treat their rotting fish recipe like nuclear codes. Only a handful of employees supposedly know the sacred ratios. Today, the factory pumps out 43 million bottles a year, a tidal wave of fermented sludge. But in 2009, this extreme paranoid secrecy was pierced. A former company accountant claimed to have unearthed the original 1830s recipe. Had he found it in a laser-guarded safe? Nope. He found the crown jewels discarded in a skip in a dusty alleyway, tossed away with the empty crisp packets. Not the cleverest way to handle intellectual property. Food writers wondered why a brand would discard their only asset so casually. Well, of course, the written recipe is only part of the magic. Knowing the exact ingredients doesn't help a competitor all that much. You still need 2 years of patience, a massive cellar, and a workforce willing to smell like a pelican's burp. Which brings us back to the crusty bottle sitting quietly in your cupboard. In the end, Worcestershire sauce is what happens when decomposition meets the marketing department. A product named after a county nobody can reliably articulate. Its widening availability created a tongue-twisting linguistic problem. The rest of the world was perplexed by the 14-letter name. A word that sounds like a sneeze. Correctly pronounced, Worcestershire.
Worcester sauce or whatever you call that.
That's not the way you say it.
Well, how do you say it?
Well, I try not to, but if I have to, I say it very quickly. Pass me the Worcestershire sauce.
We gotta use this Worcestershire, one just star shine.
Not Worcestershire, not Worcestershire, and certainly not wash your sister. People will argue about the syllables until the cows come home. Yet they'll still happily splash it over a bubbling rarebit and stir it into a Bloody Mary to survive a Sunday morning with the in-laws, blissfully unaware of what's actually in it, because it's simply delicious. What emerged from Leon Perrin's barrel was proof that under the right conditions, neglect can become a business model. Certainly not the Worcester outcome, wouldn't you say?